To call off is to cancel.
A. They called off the football game because of rain.
B. She called off the card party because of her sick child.
C. He called off his appointment with the photographer.
D. She called off her engagement.
E. The movie star called off the interview.
They called off the swimming meet because of cool weather.
B. He called off the poker game because of his cold.
C. She called off her appointment with the beautician.
D. He called off the wedding.
E. The reporter called off his reports. To walk up is to approach.
A. I walked up to the cashier to pay the check.
B. He walked up to the policeman to ask for information.
C. You walked up to the ticket clerk to buy a ticket.
D. She walked up to the rack to look at the dresses.
E. They walked up to the register to pay for the groceries.
I walked up to the bank clerk to cash a check.
B. He walked up to the mailman to ask for his mail.
C. You walked up to the desk clerk to sign the register.
D. She walked up to the table to look at the sweaters.
E. They walked up to the cigarette machine to buy cigarettes. To turn on is to activate.
A. I turned on the lamp.
B. She turned on the TV.
C. He turned on the fan.
D. You turned on the blender.
E. He turned on the stereo.
I turned on the lights.
B. She turned on the radio.
C. She turned on the air conditioner.
D. You turned on the electric mixer.
E. He turned on the cassette player. To turn off is to deactivate.
A. She turned off the burner.
B. The food processor turned off automatically.
C. He turned off the copier.
D. She turned off the windshield wipers.
E. He turned off the electric saw.
She turned off the oven.
B. The toaster turned off automatically.
C. He turned off the electric typewriter.
D. She turned off the headlights.
E. He turned off the electric drill. To turn around is to turn in the opposite direction.
A. I turned the chair around.
B. The repairman turned the TV around.
C. The model turned around to show the dress.
D. She turned the cake plate around.
E. They turned the table around.
He turned the stool around.
B. He turned the refrigerator around.
C. The dancer turned around to show the steps.
D. She turned the lazy Susan around.
E. They turned the sofa around. To turn out is to end or to result in.
A. His picture turned out nicely.
B. Her cake turned out delicious.
C. His exam turned out all right.
D. It turned out to be a rainy day.
E. He turned out to be a doctor.
His picture turned out badly.
B. Her cake turned out horribly.
C. His exam turned out badly.
D. It turned out to be a sunny day.
E. She turned out to be a psychiatrist. To turn down is to refuse or reject.
A. The bank turned down his loan.
B. The company turned down his raise.
C. She turned down more food.
D. The publisher turned down the book.
E. She turned down help with the sewing.
The university turned down his application.
B. He turned down a contract with the company.
C. She turned down the dessert.
D. The magazine turned down the story.
E. He turned down help with a repair job. To turn over is to turn onto the opposite side.
A. She turned the steak over.
B. He turned the hotcakes over.
C. She turned the bacon over.
D. They turned the car over.
E. She accidentally turned the chair over.
She turned the fish over.
B. He turned the eggs over.
C. She turned the ham over.
D. He turned the motorcycle over.
E. She accidentally turned the table over. To live it up is to live in a grand manner.
A. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette lived it up.
B. We lived it up when we were on vacation.
C. She lived it up on the transatlantic ship.
D. He lived it up in Monte Carlo.
E. You lived it up in Hawaii.
The Tsars of Russia lived it up.
B. We lived it up last weekend.
C. She lived it up on the cruise ship.
D. He lived it up in Rio de Janeiro.
E. You lived it up in the Bahamas. To live in is to live where you work or study.
A. The student nurses lived in.
B. The maid lived in. The university students lived in.
E. The oil workers lived in.
The resident doctors lived in.
B. The cook lived in.
C. The governess lived in.
D. Some of the professors lived in.
E. The farmers lived in. To dress up is to dress elegantly or for a special occasion.
A. She was dressed up because she was a bridesmaid.
B. The president dressed up for the inauguration.
C. She dressed up for the Christmas party.
D. He dressed up for the interview.
E. You dressed up last Sunday.
He dressed up because he was the best man.
B. The First Lady dressed up for the banquet.
C. She dressed up for the graduation dance.
D. He dressed up for his first day in work.
E. You dressed up last Saturday night. To change one's mind is to change a previous idea.
A. You changed your mind about taking a walk.
B. I changed my mind about going out.
C. He changed his mind about buying a farm.
D. She changed her mind about visiting them.
E. I changed my mind about sleeping late.
You changed your mind about running this morning.
B. I changed my mind about staying home.
C. He changed his mind about buying a townhouse.
D. She changed her mind about calling him.
E. I changed my mind about getting up early. To tie up is to occupy.
A. The police chief tied up all the men to catch the thief.
B. She tied up the other secretaries to help her with the typing.
C. The hospital tied up all the doctors during the epidemic.
D. The factory tied up all the workers for the afternoon shift.
E. The Red Cross tied up all the volunteers after the disaster.
The fire chief tied up all the men to fight the fire.
B. He tied up the receptionist to make telephone calls.
C. The laboratory tied up all the researchers to make investigations.
D. They tied up all the salesmen for the campaign.
E. They tied up all the ambulance drivers in the city. To watch out for is to be careful of or to look out for.
A. He watched out for the traffic before he crossed the street.
B. She watched out for mistakes in the problem.
C. The hikers watched out for animals.
D. She watched out for other swimmers.
E. I watched out for curves in the road.
The driver watched out for other cars before he crossed the intersection.
B. He watched out for spelling errors.
C. The campers watched out for bears.
D. He watched out for other skiers.
E. I watched out for a turnoff. To check on is to take a look at.
A. I checked on the sleeping children.
B. She checked on the dog before going to work.
C. You checked on the plants before going on vacation.
D. She checked on the chicken in the oven.
E. I checked on the clothes in the washing machine.
I checked on the boys in the playroom.
B. She checked on the cat before going to bed.
C. You checked on the vegetable garden before going on a trip.
D. He checked on the pasta in the pot.
E. I checked on the clothes in the dryer. To check up is to investigate where a person is or what he is doing.
A. She checked up on her husband.
B. She checked up on the office employees.
C. I checked up on the teenagers.
D. You checked up on your little brother.
E. He checked up on the waiters.
He checked up on his wife.
B. He checked up on the workers.
C. She checked up on the baby.
D. You checked up on your little sister.
E. He checked up on the waitresses. To pick up is to retrieve.
A. She picked up the baby.
B. He picked up his friends at 9 a.m.
C. The taxi driver picked him up in front of his house.
D. I picked up the clothes at the laundry.
E. He picked up his shoes at the repair shop.
She picked up the children at school.
B. She picked up her classmates at 7:30.
C. The bus driver picked him up on the corner.
D. You picked up your jackets at the cleaners.
E. He picked up his suit at the tailor's. To pick out is to select or choose.
A. I picked out a gift for my friend.
B. You picked out some books at the library.
C. He picked out a loud tie.
D. She picked out a wide belt.
E. She picked out a low-cut sweater.
She picked out a birthday card for her friend.
B. He picked out some magazines at a newsstand.
C. He picked out a conservative tie.
D. I picked out a narrow belt.
E. She picked out a turtleneck sweater. To pick up the tab is to pay expenses.
A. The company picked up the tab for his business trip.
B. He picked up the tab for the wedding.
C. You picked up the tab for the party.
D. She picked up the tab for the lunch.
E. I picked up the tab for the skiing trip.
The company picked up the tab for the convention.
B. They picked up the tab for the reception.
C. He picked up the tab for the excursion.
D. We picked up the tab for the coffee break.
E. I picked up the tab for the camping trip. To drop in or drop in on is to make a surprise visit.
A. Her aunt dropped in on her last Sunday.
B. I dropped in, but you were away.
C. She dropped in on us for dinner.
D. You dropped in to watch TV.
E. She was happy because her mother dropped in.
My uncle dropped in on me yesterday.
B. He dropped in when I was asleep.
C. They dropped in on me for a drink.
D. She dropped in to talk.
E. He was furious because his mother-in-law dropped in. To drop out is to quit.
A. The little boy dropped out of kindergarten.
B. He dropped out of the gymnastics contest.
C. I dropped out of the art class.
D. She dropped out of the College of Medicine.
E. You dropped out of the 100-yard dash.
1. She dropped out of high school.
B. She dropped out of the aerobics class.
C. I dropped out of the music class.
D. He dropped out of the College of Law.
E. You dropped out of the marathon. To burn down is to be destroyed by fire.
A. The factory burned down.
B. The department store burned down.
C. The theater burned down.
D. The courthouse burned down.
E. The condominium burned down.
The warehouse burned down.
B. The shopping mall burned down.
C. The movie theater burned down.
D. The jail burned down.
E. Their house burned down. To burn up is to destroy with fire.
A. He burned up his papers.
B. I burned up the leaves last fall.
C. She burned up the trash.
D. He burned up his old passport.
E. The curtains burned up in the fire.
She burned up the records.
B. I burned up the weeds from the garden.
C. You burned up the garbage.
D. He burned up his old identification card.
E. The paintings burned up in the fire. To serve one's turn is to take one's turn.
A. He served his turn in the army.
B. I served my turn washing dishes.
C. She served her turn doing the housework.
D. You served your turn waxing the floor.
E. He served his turn mowing the lawn.
He served his turn in the Navy.
B. You served your turn drying dishes.
C. He served his turn washing the car.
D. I served my turn polishing the silverware.
E. He served his turn trimming the hedge. To point out is to show or indicate.
A. I pointed out the mountains.
B. You pointed out the parking place.
C. She pointed out the tiger in the zoo.
D. He pointed out the sidewalk cafe.
E. I pointed out the squirrels.
He pointed out the lake.
B. You pointed out the parking lot.
C. He pointed out the lion cub.
D. She pointed out the table with the parasol.
E. I pointed out the raccoons. To figure out is to reason.
A. He figured out the time by the sun.
B. You figured out your income tax.
C. I figured out the problem with a calculator.
D. She figured out how to fix the tap.
E. You figured out how to assemble the toy.
The child figured out the hour on the clock.
B. She figured out the sales tax.
C. You figured out the problem in your head.
D. She figured out how to fix the water pipe.
E. She figured out how to use the calculator. It figures is to stand to reason.
A. It figures that he's sunburned. He was in the sun all day.
B. It figures that I'm tired. I worked hard all week.
C. It figures that the room is cold. The window was open all night.
D. It figures that you're sleepy. It's 11 p.m.
E. It figures that he passed the course. He's a good student.
It figures that she's tanned. She sunbathed all summer.
B. It figures that he's exhausted. He traveled around the country.
C. It figures that you're hot. The temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit.
D. It figures that you're hungry. It's dinner time.
E. It figures that he failed the course. He's a bad student. Used to is a past action which you don't perform now.
A. I used to smoke a pipe.
B. You used to visit us often.
C. He used to play piano.
D. He used to belong to the book club.
E. They used to spend a lot of money.
I used to smoke cigars.
B. You used to call her often.
C. He used to play the saxophone.
D. She used to belong to the card club.
E. They used to save money. To believe in is to have faith in.
A. Occidental people believe in Christ.
B. She believed in women's liberation.
C. He believed in exercise.
D. She believed in her children.
E. American children believe in Santa Claus.
Oriental people believe in Buddha.
B. He believed in men's rights.
C. She believed in diets.
D. He believed in his parents.
E. French children believe in Papa Noel. To dry up is to become dry and or die for lack of water.
A. The sun dried up the earth.
B. Her roses dried up when she was on vacation.
C. The grass dried up last winter.
D. The flowers in the vase dried up in 2 days.
E. The grapes dried up on the vine.
The plants dried up in the sunshine.
B. His garden dried up when he was away.
C. The leaves dried up last fall.
D. Her bouquet dried up in 24 hours.
E. The apples dried up on the tree. To dry out is to dehydrate or to dry naturally.
A. Her skin dried out in the sunshine.
B. The streets dried out after the flood.
C. She dried out beside the fire.
D. His raincoat dried out on the chair.
E. Our boots dried out on the porch.
Her complexion dried out in the wind.
B. The streets dried out after the storm.
C. He dried out beside the kitchen stove.
D. Her sweater dried out on the hanger.
E. Our shoes dried out beside the door. To try on is to put on in order to see how one looks.
A. I tried on a long-sleeved dress.
B. You tried on a circular skirt.
C. She tried on low-heeled shoes.
D. He tried on a sport suit.
E. You tried on tennis shoes. I tried on a strapless dress.
B. You tried on a straight skirt.
C. She tried on high-heeled shoes.
D. She tried on a tuxedo.
E. You tried on cleats.
To try out is to test or audition.
A. She tried out for the play.
B. He tried out for the band.
C. I tried out the new restaurant.
D. You tried out your new car.
E. She tried out the new detergent.
He tried out for the musical.
B. She tried out for the choir.
C. I tried out the new cafeteria.
D. You tried out your new motorcycle.
E. She tried out the new dishwashing liquid.
To keep from is to refrain from. A. She kept from chewing gum.
B. I kept from smoking my pipe.
C. You kept from talking loudly.
D. He kept from falling.
E. She kept from lending money.
A. She kept from blowing bubbles.
B. He kept from smoking his cigar.
C. I kept from whispering.
D. You kept from stumbling.
E. He kept from borrowing money. To keep on is to continue. A. She kept on asking questions.
B. I kept on swinging in a swing.
C. You kept on chopping vegetables.
D. We kept on chasing the fox.
E. The dog kept on barking.
A. I kept on repeating the words.
B. She kept on sliding down the slide.
C. He kept on grinding meat.
D. The fox kept running.
E. The cat kept on meowing.
To get used to is to become accustomed to. A. I got used to the hot weather.
B. He got used to getting up early.
C. You got used to taking the bus.
D. She got used to Italian food.
E. I got used to living in a small apartment.
A. She got used to the cold weather.
B. She got used to going to bed early.
C. You got used to driving.
D. He got used to Chinese food.
E. I got used to living in a big house. To fall off is to fall from some object. A. The painter fell off the ladder.
B. She fell off the balcony.
C. I fell off my tricycle.
D. He fell off the couch.
E. You fell off the stool.
A. He fell off the roof of his house.
B. She fell off the porch.
C. I fell off my motorcycle.
D. She fell off the chair.
E. You fell off the ottoman. To put out is to extinguish. A. I put out my cigarette.
B. You put out the candle.
C. He put out the campfire.
D. They put out the fire in the kitchen.
E. She put out the gas lamp. A. I put out my pipe.
B. You put out the match.
C. He put out the fire in the fireplace.
D. They put out the fire in the building.
E. He put out the gas heater.
To find fault with is to criticize. A. She found fault with her dress.
B. You found fault with the steak.
C. He found fault with the music.
D. I found fault with the newspaper article.
E. She found fault with their appearance.
A. She found fault with her makeup.
B. You found fault with the fish.
C. He found fault with the ballet.
D. I found fault with the magazine story.
E. She found fault with her conduct. To read over is to read again. A. I read the article over.
B. You read the recipe over.
C. He read the book over.
D. He read his notes over.
E. She read the announcement over. A. I read the story over.
B. You read the instructions over.
C. She read the magazine over.
D. He read his homework over.
E. She read the invitation over. To break down is to be in a state of disrepair. A. My TV broke down.
B. The toaster broke down.
C. The car broke down.
D. The air conditioner broke down.
E. The refrigerator broke down.
A. My stereo broke down.
B. The mixer broke down.
C. The bus broke down.
D. The fan broke down.
E. The microwave oven broke down. To break in is to get used to wearing something. A. He broke in his loafers.
B. She broke in her sandals.
C. I broke in my slippers.
D. You broke in your contact lenses.
E. He broke in his braces.
A. He broke in his tennis shoes.
B. She broke in her high heels.
C. I broke in my boots.
D. You broke in your glasses.
E. He broke in his dentures. To break into is to enter by force. A. They broke into the house.
B. He broke into a store.
C. They broke into a bank.
D. He broke into a safe.
E. They broke into the supermarket.
A. They broke into the apartment.
B. He broke into a gas station.
C. They broke into a finance company.
D. He broke into a vault.
E. They broke into a delicatessen.
To catch cold is to get a cold. A. He caught cold in the rain.
B. I caught cold in the chilly room.
C. You caught cold in the swimming pool.
D. They caught cold at work.
E. I caught cold because of the epidemic.
She caught cold in the snow.
B. I caught cold in the drafty hallway.
C. You caught cold on the ski slopes.
D. They caught cold at school.
E. I caught cold talking to you.
To catch on is to understand. A. He caught on to the card game quickly.
B. You caught on to the conversation.
C. She caught on to knitting.
D. You caught on to making a fire with sticks.
E. I spoke Spanish, but he caught on.
A. He caught on to the chess game slowly.
B. You caught on to the joke.
C. She caught on to crocheting.
D. You caught on to making a fire in the fireplace.
E. I spoke French, but she caught on. To hear from is to receive a letter, telephone call, or other type of communication from another person. A. I heard from my sister-in-law last week.
B. You heard from the university about your application.
C. She heard from her daughter-in-law.
D. I heard from her at Christmas.
E. You heard from your friend in Spain.
A. He heard from his brother-in-law.
B. You heard from the company about the job.
C. He heard from his son-in-law.
D. I heard from him at Easter.
E. You heard from your friend in France. To drive up to is to approach in a car. A. I drove up to the bank window.
B. He drove up to the parking lot entrance.
C. She drove up to the gas pump.
D. You drove up to the driveway entrance.
E. He drove up to the ticket office at the drive-in movies. A. I drove up to the restaurant window.
B. He drove up to the parking place.
C. She drove up to the air hose.
D. You drove up to the garage entrance.
E. He drove up to the speaker. To see someone off is to accompany a person to say goodbye. A. I saw him off at the airport.
B. We saw them off at the corner.
C. You saw your children off to school.
D. She saw them off to camp.
E. He saw her off to New York. A. She saw her off at the train station.
B. We saw them off at the door.
C. You saw your husband off to work.
D. She saw him off on his fishing trip.
E. She saw her off to Chicago.
To make good is to do well, to have success, or to fulfill a promise. A. He made good on the test.
B. You made good on your promise.
C. He made good in high school.
D. She made good in medicine.
E.
I made good in sports.
She made good on the exam.
B. You made good on your plans.
C. She made good in college.
D. He made good in electronics. E. I made good in show business. To feel like is to want. A. I felt like singing.
B. You felt like taking a nap.
C. He felt like eating fish.
D. She felt like talking.
E. The dog felt like running. A. I felt like dancing.
B. You felt like going to bed early.
C. He felt like eating onion rings.
D. She felt like listening.
E. The cat felt like sitting in the window.
To wear out is to become old because of use.
A. His shirt is going to wear out soon.
B. Her boots are going to wear out in the snow.
C. My jeans are going to wear out because I use them a lot.
D. Her gloves are going to wear out.
E. His shirt sleeves are going to wear out.
A. His shoes are going to wear out soon.
B. Her sandals are going to wear out next summer.
C. My tennis shoes are going to wear out because I run a lot.
D. Her umbrella is going to wear out.
E. His pants' legs are going to wear out.
To wait for is to be in a state of expectation for a person or thing.
A. I'm going to wait for you in the car.
B. He's going to wait for me on the corner.
C. She's going to wait for him 15 minutes.
D. You're going to wait for me until 1 p.m.
E. He's going to wait for her in the living room.
A. I'm going to wait for you outside.
B. She's going to wait for her on the park bench.
C. I'm going to wait for her for 25 minutes.
D. You're going to wait for him until 2 p.m.
E. He's going to wait for her in the hallway.
To wait on is to serve or to attend to.
A. She's going to wait on him while he's sick.
B. The stewardess is going to wait on the passengers.
C. The clerk is going to wait on a shopper.
D. He's going to wait on the people at the tables.
E. The stylist is going to wait on her client.
A. He's going to wait on her while she has a broken leg.
B. The waitress is going to wait on the customers.
C. The salesman is going to wait on a client.
D. He's going to wait on the people at the bar.
E. The nurse is going to wait on her patient.
To buy up is to buy all the stock.
A. I'm going to buy up all the onions.
B. She's going to buy up all the needles.
C. He's going to buy up all the paper.
D. You're going to buy up all the sugar?
E. They're going to buy up all the railroad shares.
A. I'm going to buy up all the corn.
B. She's going to buy up all the pins.
C. He's going to buy up all the pencils.
D. You're going to buy up all the flour.
E. They're going to buy up all the telephone shares.
To buy out is to buy completely.
A. The supermarket is going to buy out the corner store.
B. The national airline is going to buy out the local one.
C. The government is going to buy out the factory.
D. The big cereal factory is going to buy out the smaller one.
E. The big farm is going to buy out the smaller one.
The chair restaurant is going to buy out the hamburger stand.
B. The National Railroad is going to buy out the State Railroad.
C. The government is going to buy out the company.
D. The big dairy is going to buy out the smaller one.
E. The big ranch is going to buy out the smaller one.
To sell out is to sell everything.
A. The shoe store is going to sell out.
B. The furniture store is going to sell out.
C. The department store is going to sell out.
D. The supermarket is going to sell out.
E. They're going to sell out because they're going to move to another city.
A. The boutique is going to sell out.
B. The appliance store is going to sell out.
C. 2 stores in the shopping mall are going to sell out.
D. The bakery is going to sell out.
E. They are selling out because they're going to live in another country.
To think up is to invent.
A. He's going to think up a new way to catch mice.
B. She's going to think up a new recipe.
C. I'm going to think up a new dress style.
D. He's going to think up a new cold capsule.
E. He's going to think up a new sport.
A. He's going to think up a new way to get rid of rats.
B. She's going to think up a new dessert.
C. I'm going to think up a new hat style.
D. He's going to think up a new cough syrup.
E. He's going to think up a new card game.
To think over is to consider.
A. He's going to think over the design.
B. She's going to think over the shopping list.
C. I'm going to think over what to do next weekend.
D. You're going to think over what to study.
E. He's going to think over a savings account.
A. He's going to think over the blueprints.
B. She's going to think over what to make for dinner.
C. I'm going to think over where to go on Sunday.
D. You're going to think over where to look for work.
E. He's going to think over a checking account.
To stick out is to be noticeable.
A. His Hawaiian tie is going to stick out.
B. Your purple shoes are going to stick out.
C. Her black fingernail polish is going to stick out.
D. His height is going to stick out.
E. Her red hair is going to stick out.
His punk hairdo is going to stick out.
B. Your red stockings are going to stick out.
C. Her black eyeshadow is going to stick out.
D. Her weight is going to stick out.
E. His big ears are going to stick out.
To stick to is to continue with.
A. He's going to stick to the schedule.
B. He's going to stick to the plan.
C. I'm going to stick to my job.
D. He's going to stick to engineering.
A. The tourist guide is going to stick to the itinerary.
B. She's going to stick to the pattern.
C. I'm going to stick to my studies.
D. He's going to stick to flying.
E. She's going to stick to acting.
Had better is strong advice or a warning.
A. You had better save money.
B. He had better study harder.
C. She had better clean her room.
D. You had better go to sleep.
E. They had better come inside. A. You had better pay in cash.
B. He had better pass the exam.
C. She had better help with the housework.
D. You had better get up.
E. They had better play quietly.
A. You had better be quiet.
B. He had better be nice to his little sister.
C. She had better take good care of her little brother.
D. You had better help me with the bags.
E. She had better be good.
A. You had better not talk.
B. He had better not hit her.
C. She had better not leave him alone.
D. You had better not drop them.
E. She had better not cry.
A. You had better hurry up or you'll be late.
B. He had better stop at the red light or he'll hit the other car.
C. She had better sit here or she'll be uncomfortable.
D. You had better stay inside or you'll get wet.
E. He had better get home early or his wife will get angry.
A. You had better not be late or you'll lose your job.
B. He had better not hit the other car or he'll get a fine.
C. She had better not be uncomfortable or she'll leave.
D. You had better not get wet. You'll get sick.
E. She had better get home on time or her mother will scold her.
A. You had better fill the water pitcher or you'll run out of cold water.
B. You had better leave your shoes at the door or the floor will get dirty.
C. He had better lock the car or someone will steal it.
D. She had better go to the supermarket or she'll run out of food.
E. You had better put the car in the garage.
A. You had better not spill the water or you'll have to mop it.
B. You had better not leave fingerprints on the wall or you'll have to wash it.
C. He had better not leave the door unlocked or someone will break in.
D. She had better not run out of food or she'll get hungry.
E. They had better not steal the hubcaps or I'll call the police.
If you want to learn English,
A. You should listen to the cassette or record.
B. You should repeat the lesson.
C. You should watch movies in English on TV.
D. You should study hard.
E. You should take a trip to the U.S., Canada, England. A. You should pay attention.
B. You should answer the questions in your workbook.
C. You should read newspapers and magazines in English.
D. You should take the test once a month.
E. You should practice speaking English with your friends.